Okay, this may come off reactionary, and this is my first, kind of unscripted, weird video. Kind of a rant video. I'm a little ticked off right now. So, today, is August 20th, Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. Just didn't even know the year. And, D23 is coming up this weekend. Disney annual convention that they release a lot of new information about. And it's also Gamescom week. So leading up to D23 is this huge gaming convention. And with that, we're going to expect a lot of news just from different corporations and a lot of breaking news. Insomniac was bought by Sony. This isn't a gaming video, by the way, which is a little off kilter for me, I guess. I wanted to do a video on something related to this earlier, but I just never got around to it. It was really busy and kind of stressful. Anyway, speaking of Sony, and speaking of something similar to Insomniac, breaking news was that Sony and Marvel decided to part ways in the MCU incarnation of Spider-Man. Now, to go into it a little bit deeper, it's just greedy corporation shenanigans, and it sucks that it's impacting media and art and just movies and films as a concept, because businesses are greedy, and these are some of the biggest corporations on the planet. So, I mean, they just want to nickel and dime anyone at this point. They just want to spread influence. But what it turns out was, previously, I don't know if you guys are aware of how the Spider-Man into the MCU deal was financed, but basically, for Sony to play ball, Marvel is like, okay, you keep 95 to 100% of the box office revenue of the Spider-Man movies. Those are yours. Don't worry about that. We'll just take 100% of the merchandising, which, I mean, it's an MCU movie, so it's going to make a lot of money, so it doesn't really matter either way. And we'll take a little bit off the first weekend. This is Disney. This is it's probably more of a Disney thing than it is Marvel Studios, but Marvel Studios is more of the production and yada yada yada, business shenanigans. And so, Spider-Man: Far From Home, best-selling Spider-Man movie, or I guess highest-grossing Spider-Man movie. That sounds more apt. Anyway. Just made over $1 billion. First Spider-Man movie to do that. Writing off the coattails of Avengers Endgame, because it is very much an epilogue to Avengers Endgame. And just Phase 3 in the Infinity Saga as a whole. Obviously, Spider-Man Far From Home was going to set up future movies in the MCU. Turns out that's not the case, because Disney was like, hey, Spider-Man Far From Home made so much money, man. Like, clearly it's us knowing the character and knowing how to use the character. I mean, you had those, Andrew Garfield movies, didn't make a lot of money. In fact, pretty downright horrible in some cases. Amazing Spider-Man 2, terrible movie. And, squandered a lot of the, I want to say potential. There were parts of the original Amazing Spider-Man that I did like. Probably my favorite Stan Lee cameo. It's just a highlight. I could talk about that any time of the week, but there was promise. It wasn't perfect. But for the most part, it was an enjoyable experience, I found. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a train wreck. Dude, you guys don't know how to do your Spider-Man movies, Disney says. And so, Marvel Studios, knowing the characters, knowing the fundamentals of what makes Spider-Man a character, an appealing character, and a beloved mainstream character, is how he relates to the average Joe. Like, he's not a billionaire. He may get suits from a billionaire, but he's not a billionaire. He has the inner workings of a hero because of the teachings and the circumstances that he learns along the way. He stumbles on his mistakes, and that's what makes Spider-Man a very interesting character. And Marvel knew that better than anyone. They nailed it, and I love Spider-Man 1 and 2, from the Raimi trilogy. And Spider-Man 3 is annoying. I almost said annoying. Is entertaining for a train wreck, but it, we do got him walking down Main Street, and that's always a classic. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So the MCU films I found were the best incarnation of Spider-Man. I also grew up reading Ultimate Spider-Man, so I may be a little It's extremely similar. The kinds of stories and the depiction of Spider-Man and his cast, those comics are very in tune. So I just love those films so much, and I grew up on Spider-Man 1 and 2. I watched them like a billion times. Spider-Man 2 is still one of my favorite movies of all time. Um, but the Marvel movies just nailed the depiction of Spider-Man, especially in his interactions with the other Avengers and the other Marvel characters. I mean, his introduction in Civil War is god tier. It's like cannot be beat, dude. It's so good. But Disney, having bought Fox, are like, hey, we're a big deal, man. You gotta respect us. We own like basically all of the movies that are coming out, and especially the ones that actually give people money and jobs and keep the industry Hollywood alive. And Sony was like, no, it's our best-selling franchise. We're not going to let you have it. Marvel, found out today, wanted 50 to co-finance the Spider-Man 3 and the potential movies that were going to happen after that, 50%, meaning they would get 50% of the revenue, but they would also put 50% in. And Sony was just not having it. And they're going to still continue with the franchise, it seems, just from this initial news. It seems like Tom Holland and Zendaya, those cast of characters are going to continue forward. I don't know if this means Sinister Six is off the table or they're still going to go down that route, because that's what it was leading up to, man. Next movie, heavily, I just assumed it would be Kraven, because who else could the next villain of a Spider-Man movie be? It's like the last big character. And since Spider-Man lost his secret identity, it would work in seamlessly. Like, it would just be Kraven's last hunt. He gets, like, embarrassed by Spider-Man, or someone hires Kraven to go after Spider-Man. Spider-Man would just, like, embarrass him, like, whatever, man. And then continue along his Spider-Man-y ways. He would be on top of the world in this movie, too, because everyone knows who he is. So he's basically a rock star. He can't be a normal kid anymore. And that's sad, because we haven't really seen that kind of Spider-Man before, especially as a kid, in Tom Holland, who's just the most charming motherfucker on the planet. Oh man, it sucks that we're not going to get like that continuation and see him cross over. He was one of the best parts of Infinity War and Endgame. Like the dichotomy between Spider-Man and Iron Man, and how he was basically turning out to be the next Iron Man in the series. He was going to be like basically the main character now, and now it's just gone, man. Kevin Feige loves Spider-Man, which is weird that they would just let this happen. You think they would like fall back, but who knows? I don't know, man. He says it's his favorite character, and I feel like they're definitely going to work their hardest to bring them back, because of social media, they're going to get a lot of backlash for this, but they do make a lot of money, so it might not even matter. I feel like it could matter. This is like the biggest film franchise in the world, man. Like, the internet has a big say in what these stories are. And it's weird. I mean, okay, and I guess from the Sony side, Spider-Man would also cross over with, like, Venom or Morpheus. Or Morbius, not Morpheus. Sorry, Matrix 4 was also confirmed today, so Matrix is all in the minds. Which is crazy. Keanu getting work, man. Putting in the work. Getting the work. They could go in any which way. Sony... Venom made a lot of money. I'll give it that. But was it a good movie? Hell no. That movie was like a turd in the wind. It was bad. But, I don't know, pun intended. I don't know. That's just what I'm feeling right now. It sucks. Not rest in peace, Spider-Man. I'm not too excited about the future of Spider-Man, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. See you guys later.